Welcome to the 11 Common Mistakes Mediators Make in Business Development. My name is Anna Rappaport. I'm just going to start by telling you a bit about my background so that you know where I'm coming from in terms of all this advice I'm about to dispense. I'm a former lawyer and professional coach, and I've been coaching for about 20 years, focusing on lawyers and ADR professionals. One of the big areas I work on with people is business development. And a lot of people who do this kind of coaching, they come from more of a sales or marketing background. So it may surprise you that I started out doing personal growth-oriented transformational coaching, which is inspiring and it changes lives. But similar to transformational mediation, which you may have heard of, it can be a little hard to explain to people, and not everyone is interested. So it can be a bit of a challenge from a business perspective. Also, like many of you, I want to make a difference in the world. And I found that when I was only communicating with people about the transformational part of coaching, I was dramatically limiting the impact I could make. Basically, I was preaching to the choir, which is fun, but I wasn't making as much of a difference as I would have liked. So over time, I realized that business development is actually a fantastic lens through which to support people in personal growth. Now, of course, that's not going to apply for everyone. Some people just need some structure, some guidance, a sounding board, and all of that is important too. But I find that for a lot of people, business development is intrinsically tied in with issues of identity, power, and what they think is possible in the world. So to me, this isn't so much about tips and tricks. After all, there are a lot of different styles and approaches that can work, but rather it's about being in partnership with people while they're on this journey and supporting them in being the best versions of themselves. I mean, after all, it's the best version of ourselves that's generally also the most effective and also has the most fun. So you may be wondering what I know about mediation. I actually went to law school thinking that I wanted to work in the field of mediation. Specifically, I was thinking in the area of peace building and post-conflict recovery. And I thought a JD would be, one way to do that. So in law school, I got mediation training and I worked at a mediation clinic. And in the end, it turned out that really coaching is my passion. But when a friend found out that in addition to having expertise on business development, that I also had this ADR background, she pulled me into the American Bar Association's dispute resolution section, where I've held various leadership roles. I'm currently on the council, which is the governing body of the section. Since 2014, I've been working with mediators and arbitrators regularly as part of my practice. And I've also conducted in-depth interviews with many highly successful mediators and arbitrators. So the guidance I'm providing in this series of videos incorporates all those perspectives, as well as my own personal experience and that of my clients. Before we dive into the 11 common mistakes, I want to offer a couple of reminders. Here we have a picture of a snail riding a turtle saying, "OMG, slow down, you're gonna get us killed." This is my silly way to offer a reminder that not everyone sees the world the way you do. You may see this all the time when you work as a mediator, but it's also important to remember for business development. So I constantly see mediators stopping themselves from asking for what they want for fear that the other person will perceive their actions as pushy or that the other person might feel uncomfortable. Now, of course, we want to be sensitive to other people's perspectives, but what I see from clients a lot of the time is that they create obstacles where none actually exists. Here's an example of me doing the same thing. So in 2010, my dad died, and I had a really hard time with it. For those of you who've experienced major loss like that, you know that it can be even tougher than you would think. So after a few months of mourning, I decided that I just needed a life change to kind of shake things up and get out of the funk I was in. So I up and moved to Turkey. I didn't speak the language. I didn't understand the culture. I didn't know anyone there. So I definitely got a change, and I enrolled in an intensive Turkish class and got an apartment and started networking. So my first client that I got in Turkey came through Craigslist. I was buying furniture from a Canadian woman who was married to a Turk, and they were moving to Canada, thus selling their furniture. So she asked me what I was doing, like why I was moving to Turkey. I explained, and I told her that I was trying to meet international lawyers, because they speak English. And she said that her husband's cousin worked at the largest law firm in Turkey, and she gave me his cell phone number. Now, it took me a while to gather up the courage to call him, because in my world, from my perspective, a call from a random stranger to talk about business would probably not be appreciated. But I called him, and he suggested that we go to lunch and that he would bring his wife, who is also a lawyer. She was running her own law firm, and she became my first client. And I worked with her for 4 years. If I had let myself be stopped by assuming that this random Turkish lawyer would be annoyed by my call, I would have missed out on what turned into a great business relationship and a great friendship. Many excellent opportunities start with putting aside our own certainty that someone else will see things the same way we do. The next slide summarizes the fundamentals of marketing and business development. It is all about getting people to know, like, and trust you. Everything I'm going to talk about in this series of videos is going to lead back one way or another to this basic principle. Now, I invite you to go through the 11 common mistakes mediators make when developing business.